Shalom, y'all. Kahala Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, that's Yahweh, the Most High God, in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahushua Hamashiach. Today I'm coming at you with a sister study. It's just a study. It is evening, it is late, it has been a day, so bear with me. And it is getting darker, and it will get darker, just to let you know. My name is Kashkaya, and today I'm going to be speaking on the topic of being the light of God to the world as a woman, and a little bit of my testimony, just like sprinkling into this, and like, it'll just play into the importance, right? So, we're going to be emphasizing how important it is to understand the work of the Most High. It doesn't just evolve around you. When we're in this truth, we very much have to, honestly, like, if not everything that we do is going to be rooted in helping someone else, helping our, our fellow brothers and sisters in truth and outside of the truth, to really, like, make them hone in on, like, coming back to the Most High and, maintaining themselves in the Most High, right? So, yeah, like, we mainly work for the lost sheep, as Hamashiach did, right? And we're going to explain how you can do that as a woman. You're not going to be out there evangelizing like the men, right? But women have their own position too. I'm going to just say that. So, like, simply put, like, we can also plant the seed as women by answering questions, right? We answer questions and our disposition of character, without going too much into detail. We can give so much, and we can influence people, other women especially, we can lead other women to men that teach, right? So the first scripture we're going to pop off with is Proverbs 6:23, and it reads, "For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instructions are the way of life, to keep thee from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of a strange woman." So we see that the commandment given to us by our Lord, they're here to guide us throughout life, right? They are the way of life. They're gonna keep us from evil, keep us from get into the hands of Satan. They're ultimately here for our protection. Ultimately, I have the definition of reproof from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. It is criticism for fault. So, that's what the law is going to do. It's going to criticize us, right? For our faults. It's going to tell us where to go, what to do, what not to do. It's going to scourge us, and it's going to judge us, in a sense, so that we can be in right standing with the Most High, right? Rebuke. I have the definition of rebuke also from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. To criticize sharply, an expression of strong disapproval. So the law is going to be that guide for us in life, right? Now we are going to go to Acts 13:47 reads, "For so hath the Lord commanded us, saying, I have set thee to be a light of the Gentiles, that thou shouldest be for salvation unto the ends of the earth." So the Most High has set us up to be a light for our brothers and sisters that are lost in this world, out serving other gods, and, just out really, like, living for the flesh and not for the spirit, because they don't know the spirit. So, we're also going to be that example of the law, just as Hamashiach was, to show them the way to get back to the Most High, basically. Salvation. The definition of salvation from the Webster's 1828 dictionary: the act of saving, preservation from destruction, danger, or great calamity. Appropriately, in theory, the redemption of man from bondage of sin, liability to eternal death, and the conferring on him everlasting happiness. So that is salvation in a swoop. In order to receive the salvation, we know that we got to follow the Most High. This is the book of Luke, chapter 8, and verse 16. No man, when he hath lighted a candle, covereth it with a vessel, or putteth it under a bed, but setteth it on a candlestick, and they which enter in may see the light. So we should also show forth that light in our lives, right? Just by like keeping the commandments, just by, you know, wearing your fringes, just by dressing modestly as a woman, having your tongue graced with speech and not, you know, speaking derogatory things or, you know, vain things that are empty. You know, just by doing that as a woman, like, we show forth our excellencies, right? And then also truth you share, you know, you share a man's lesson or, you know, whatnot. So we can be a light to the world, right? We can be a light to sisters out there that are also like, you know, they're lost in the world, you know, eventually they're gonna start looking for the truth. If you've heard other Israelites' testimony upon how they came into the truth, I can guarantee you, like, they had got to a point in their lives where they were like, hey, I'm looking for the truth. I'm looking to serve. How can I serve the Most High God? What is the way? What is truth? You know, all these religions out here, like, what am I supposed to follow, basically? So we want to we want to be a light, and we want to kind of set that up to the world, right? Now that might not look like what the men do, which is actually go out, teach people, and, you know, rebuke people and whatnot. But like I said, like, in the ministry of a woman, you can definitely be that shining light, that candlestick that is set upon a hill to other women, you know, by being a wife, being a mother, so on and so forth. We're going to go on to Matthew 5:14 through 16. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on an hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth life unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. I'm going to go ahead and read 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. And that is the words of our Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach. So, just like in Luke 8, you know, we want to make sure that we being a light to people, our disposition, our character, the way that we speak, like I said, the way that we treat people, you know, people recognize when you treat them with respect and honor and, you know, dignity. They recognize your speech, and so on and so forth. Sorry for the change of scenery. It was getting dark. I said I might as well go ahead and bring it in, and my Apple store is just playing with me. So, you know, they trying to get their little 99 cents, but I don't know. But I have the definition of candle from the Webster's 1828 dictionary. It means a light, a luminary. So yeah, it's still important to just be that shining light, be that candle. The next scripture will be Philippians 2:15 through 16, and it reads, that ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God, without rebuke, in the middle of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world, holding forth the word of life, that I may rejoice in Christ, that I have not run in vain, neither labored in vain. So our labor is definitely not in vain. Like, when you choose to stay in the spirit and carry the fruits of the spirit and showcase that in certain situations, other people are going to pay attention to that, and they're going to be like, wow, like, you know, the spirit of God must really be upon her. Like, and we're still very much in the midst of a crooked, wicked world, with people who are choosing to dwell in that. You know, they're not even lost. They're not even, like, you know, wavering of, you know, do I want to find God? Like, they're choosing the wickedness. So we want to be found blameless in the sight of the Most High in front of those people, because also when we choose to not carry the Holy Spirit of the Most High, those other people, they can look at his name and be like, or they can see that we're professing to be followers or believers of God, right? And they're gonna be like, oh, she's not carrying herself in that way, like, that, God must be a joke because X, Y, and Z. Like, that is also breaking one of the 10 Commandments, which is, don't take his name in vain, and when we also do that, that's also a way of like, making his name vain. We're professing him, but then we're not really being about it, so, the adversary, other people can, slander and, they can have something because it's all because of you who wasn't, a good light, a good candle, a good representation of the Most High in that situation in their life, right? So, yeah. I want to encourage y'all to also go read Ezekiel, the 33rd chapter. Very insightful, and it just tells us how the Most High ain't playing, for real. He is not playing. And also, I want to go over like the men's responsibility regarding correction. So like, obviously, like, just to make it a little bit more clear if you're not sure, like, because I know you see look in the world and you see women pastors, women deacons, and women preachers, but that's not so that's not the biblical place of women, because men mainly do that, right? Especially to other men, and they just do it to everyone, to men, women, and children. Women have that main position, right? But we are to, if you read Ezekiel 33, we are to like rebuke. The men have the main responsibility over that. Women, we can't really, like, we're not supposed to be really correcting men. Now I know there were situations in the scriptures, but for the most part, like, we're not supposed to be trying to be out here teaching men. Other men are supposed to teach men, so like I said, like, when it just shows with us indirectly, like with our obedience, with our chasteness, with our disposition of character, our speech, how we conduct ourselves, things of that nature, right? Now I'm going to read Romans 2:17 through 20. Behold, thou art called a Jew, and resist in the law, and makest thy boast of God, and knowest his will, and approvest the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law, and art confident that thou thyself art a guide of the blind, and a light of them which are in darkness, an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of babes, which has the form of knowledge and of the truth in the law. So, basically we are, especially our men, but we are like that shining light for the lost people, an instructor of babes and whatnot. Like, if a woman was to approach you, or if you were just to meet, women, children, for the women, right? That who are lost in the way, perhaps you can guide them, like, through a situation, like, oh, my husband is acting, doing this, and, it just really bothers me. But you can slide them wisdom on how to conduct themselves as a woman biblically, when it comes to their husband, and just like situations, like how they need to act, how they need to carry themselves and respect themselves. All of this can be taught to, young children, young adolescents, and other women, right, by women. It's in the realm of Titus 2:3 through 5, teaching women how to be upstanding women, and, even, women even being over the sons and up until a certain point. So, okay, I'm going to give my personal testimony of like finding the Most High and coming into the truth, like actually coming into the truth, right? So I will start back in high school. Like, it's two segments. Like, it's when I've somewhat heard of it, right? But then, like, when I actually got the knowledge of the commandments and, you know, started following them, right? So it started in high school. I think it was like 10th grade, right? It was this young man. He was like 2 years older than me. I had a Snapchat and whatnot. We went to the same school and whatnot. And I saw that he posted on his Snapchat a picture of Caesar Borgia, right? White Jesus. Like, he posted the picture of the poster of Caesar Borgia on the ground, and it was like 5 black boots, like, you know, stomping the picture, right? And I'm like, oh, like, that's intriguing. At the time, I'm like, you know, that's just intriguing. Like, so I swipe up and I text him, like, I think I exactly text him, like, who is your God? Like, who, you know, what are you about? What is this? And he, you know, explains. At the time, I was calling the Most High another name, from my understanding then, right? But he basically told me, like, hey, you know, somehow, I don't remember if it was him or he just showed me a couple of things, but somehow it's like, you know, I was informed that the Most High is in the image of a so-called black man, right? According to in Revelations, we are the original people of the book. We are the Hebrews. We are his chosen people. His name is this, and not, you know, just God, or his son just doesn't go by Jesus Christ. This isn't the real Christ, whatnot, right? But like at that time, that's where it stopped. Like, that's all the knowledge that I knew. Hebrew, the Most High was not white. His son was not white. And I went by other names, right? Then I go by now, Yahweh, Yahushua. So then fast forward, I would say this is my freshman year of college, and like, I was 19, right? This was August 2020, or the next, like, spring, January 2021, right? I'm freshman in college. It's my second semester. I meet this dude. I see him on campus. I've saw him around campus before, but this day I see him. He has fringes on, right? And he has the Bible and he has the Apocrypha in his hand, right? So he walks up to the group, because this is the group kind of where we just kind of hang out. We're all freshmen, right? And I'm like, you know, so I go up to him and I start speaking to him, and you know, I'm like, you know, we're just talking, and basically he gets around to saying like, hey, I'm a Hebrew, or something like that. And I just remember saying like, oh, I'm Hebrew too, you know. Oh, you know, the Most High is black, and, you know, he ain't that white God they've been telling us in church. Like, you know, so I share what I know. But then I'm like, hey, like, what are, you know, I chuckle a little bit. I'm like, what are these on your shirt? Like, why are you wearing those? Like, what are those? And basically from that point on, like, he kind of pulls me into it about the commandments and about, like, actually getting serious about reading my Bible and learning and increasing in learning, right? And he, you know, runs me by, you know, the name that I know now to be true of the Most High and his son, right? Just from evidence. So that's the tidbit of like me starting this walk. And I can say, like, by him first of all, by that first encounter in high school, right? Just from a share from social media, like just from someone posting something on social media that is truth, it awakened me and it gave me knowledge, right? It planted the seed, I would say. Like, I wasn't there, you know, completely. I hadn't grasped onto it completely, but the Most High allowed that to roll around later, right? Like 2.5 years later, when I was a freshman in college, right? And then this man, he was my age, but, you know, this young man, him actually like putting it on, and him actually like like showcasing that he was walking in truth. At the time, like that then increased me more, right? And about 6 months after that, I told myself I was just learning more and more, right? Also because he put me on to so many people on social media. Before, I didn't really know anyone on social media except for a dude from high school, right? But after college dude after college dude, I'm like, I'm finding more people, I'm finding other sisters in our community. I'm finding men to learn from. I find camps and congregations and stuff like that. And it really just helped me. Like, it really just helped me plant the seed. Thank goodness that, I didn't go by the wayside and, just kind of it just falls on deaf ears, right? But thank goodness I cleaved unto it and still am cleaving unto it, and striving to stay sharp. But just by that, it really helped me. But around, like I said, around, it was at least from me first having that encounter. We get on the phone with his uncle. His uncle is in the truth as well. And, we're just talking and talking. His uncle is like, oh, you're going to be a mighty woman. We got to get you in a dress, sister. We got to get you some fringes. You're going to be mighty at the feast days and whatnot. And like, it's like that whole spiel, right? So around 6 months after that first encounter, we're like sparsely talking, right? I'm still being like vigilant though of like carnal things when it came to that though. But at that time, like even after that, like we didn't converse anymore, but the Most High still allowed him to be there to show me. And I decided I had enough people on social media. I had enough knowledge on that I could see through my phone on social media and stuff that I can learn. The beginning laws, right? Like I need to ditch my ripped jeans and, just wear modest clothing. Like I need to stop dressing like provocatively, right? So I had enough knowledge to where like I could really have a grasp, right? And I ain't gonna lie, that a lot of that came from these foundational congregation videos. Like when these camps, they walk you through like the beginning steps of what you should change and how, like, basically like what you should change, how you are to get into it. You learn about the holy days and stuff like that. But about 6 months after that first encounter in college, I decided to actually start walking in it. I purchased my first dress with fringes, and that's the first post on I think all of my social media, that dress that says virtuous or virtue, and it's black. And yeah, like that's basically how I came into the truth, because someone else decided to be a light and let that light shine. And the Most High, actually, I'm not gonna mention that, but yeah, like the Most High will use people. He will actually use people to that's why it's so important that we put on as well. That's why it's so important that we put on fringes, right? Also so we can identify each other and whatnot, so we can know, like, and I'm gonna tell other accounts of where I've ran into people or people have recognized me. Because why? Because I'm wearing fringes and I have my head covered and I'm in a dress and whatnot. But anyway, I'm also gonna reference, it's in my notebook, right? I'm gonna reference Romans 2:6 through 17, just to read that spiel. It's just, to get the context of the chapter right. But I'm also now gonna give my account on meeting someone approaching me while I was in public transport, right? So this was like recent. This was in the last month. This day I had decided to take public transport because it was just easier, right? I didn't want to have to worry about certain things, so I was like, just take the bus. So I get on the bus, right? this is when I'm coming back from work. So I get on the bus, I believe. Yes, I'm coming back from work. And, I get on the bus. It's a whole lot of Israelite men. It's like kind of packed. It's just packed with people more than I've ever seen before, right? So they're chatting and whatnot. I go and I kind of sit in the middle because that's where available seats were. We're going down the street and, they're just chatting. He ends up moving a bit closer to me from something else. But eventually this man, while he's on the bus, he's one of the ones chatting and, talking about his background, where he comes from and stuff like that. And why, he was in what he was in right now. But so I'm hearing this, but obviously I'm just minding my business, right? Not paying any attention. So he moves closer, and then he turns to me and he asks like, "Hey, are you Muslim?" Like, I said, "No, I'm an Israelite." I'm just answering his questions, but this man, he goes on to like just ask a string of questions, right? He just asks a string of questions. And he asked me, "What are you?" I say, "I'm an Israelite." Like what does that go by? I say, I follow the Bible how it is. I'm not giving in-depth answers, right? But he's really just kind of asking me and, pulling this information basically out of me. So he whips out his phone on his own, will. He's looking up Israelite. He's putting this in his YouTube search bar, I guess, so he can have to, look up later, right? He asked me, what books do I read? Do I read the Quran? I say, no, I read the Bible and I read the Apocrypha. He's like, I never heard of the Apocrypha. So he pulls up his phone. I think he types that into the type of phone he had. I wanted to give him the KJV app, the brown Bible with the white background, but couldn't do that. So it had to find some kind of alternative. I told him it was on the internet too, though. Like KJV, just put Apocrypha and it should pop up on the internet too. So he pulls that out. He's typing that up too, right? He types in Israelite on YouTube, so now he's gonna see congregations and whatnot. And then he just goes on to say like, oh, I just noticed how you were dressed different, and I think he noticed my fringes as well. And these were just regular, these weren't bought fringes, like these were just, I just sewn the ribbon of blue on my work skirt, and I just had kind of cut up the edges to make the fringes, like, it wasn't anything, dramatic. But he basically explains like, oh, I saw that, and, I was curious and whatnot. So then he goes on to, just kind of go silent. He just kind of ends, like, the conversation really ends there. But he's got all this information. He's pulling it from me. It's not like I'm gonna be like, denying. It's not like I'm gonna deny him of the information, right? So yeah, I give him the information, and that's not necessarily teaching. I'm just answering questions truthfully, right? So then his stop comes. He tells me like, oh, have a good day. You gave me something to look up when I get home. And then we bid each other farewell. But that also went to show. And then after that moment, like, I felt the sun started to shine, right? And I just felt like so pure and light, right? Like, but I just wanted to go to show, say that to say like, hey, we also attract different people. And, we a lot of times, like, we be the first encounter of the truth of the Most High for a lot of people, which is why it's so important, because, in the day of judgment, the Most High is going to be like, well, I put this person in place, and you interacted with them, and, they were there, and, You could have X, Y, and Z, but it's also important for us to like I said, be that, well, like the scriptures say, like be that candle, set up, that candlestick set up on top of a hill, like be that light for other people. And like I said, just in disposition of character, people notice like, hey, she ain't one of them women that kind of run her mouth, and she stick to herself, and she dresses this way. I know she reads the Bible because she makes an effort to cover her head and make sure that she wears a skirt or dress every day. Like, people can already look at you and say like, yeah, she's religious, right? Yeah, she's about God. Like, they already know without saying, and then they see like how you're moving, they see how at peace you are through certain situations. They see, they just see, like, they just see the light of God that's supposed to be on you because you're supposed to be that example. So I just wanted to give that little testimony. It was very like innocent in the spirit, right? And I'm glad that through my encounters that I have been able to be that outlet that the Most High can reach people from. So, all right, I'm going to read 1 Corinthians 13, 2-7. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have no charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself. It is not puffed up, doeth not behave itself unseemingly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth, beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. So that's also like the segment of what we're going to get into of how important charity is. Charity is also like I said, being that light, sharing information. If they want more information out of you as a woman, you can lead them. You can point them in the direction of who you learn from, point them in the direction of a man to teach them, an Israelite man to teach them. But charity is very important. So the truth, like the main center of this lesson is that, this truth, it isn't just about us. And, when we get the knowledge, we got the knowledge, we keep the commandments, but we keep it all to ourselves and we just hit the kingdom and we just, but it's also about what you put in for your nation as a whole, like how you put your brick in, like how do you put your brick in? So yeah, like, you may go through times of where, hardships of, you may want to grieve, or you may just be feeling down in the spirit, right? But it's very important to just remember that, the work of the Lord has to be done. And you don't want to take your hand off the plow. Like, when your life gets rocky, it's honestly like, it's so much more, proving to the Most High that you are locked in with Him. If your life gets rocky, but you continue to do the work, like we see it all throughout scriptures, we see it through the disciples, all the hell they went through. I just reviewed that account of Paul. They stoned him, they kicked him out the city because they thought he was dead, but he got up and he went back into the city, and then he kept on ministering. Like, that's kind of how we want to be when it comes to that. Like, we will have our hard times, and we will definitely need to sometimes make sure that we're not hypocrites and like get ourselves together, get our spirits together before we can like, minister to others. But we still want to do that. Like, we want to do that as quick as possible. If you do fall in a slump or whatnot, like, we want to get out of that, because this work has to be done, and we want to seal the elect number, and get out of this captivity. So, and we just want to continue the work, right? I'm going to reference Luke 9:59 through 62 for that. So yeah, like, no matter what, there are still lost sheep out there that need to be influenced by the Lord. And like I said in times past, you're that light for them. He's supposed to be coming through you to touch them and to influence them in their lives. And whether they accept it or not, you have still been that outlet for the Most High God to reach them. This is James chapter 2, 14 through 20. What doeth it profit, my brethren, though a man say he have faith and have not works? Can faith save him? If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warmed and filled, notwithstanding ye give them not those things which are needful to the body, what doth it profit? Even so faith, if it have not works, is being dead alone. Yea, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works. Thou believest there is one God, thou doest well. The devils also believe and tremble. But wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? So that just really highlights how important it is that we also have works with our faith, right? The works will prove our faith, and that's keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, of course, as well as, like, when it comes to being that influence for other people, our works, walking in the Spirit, choosing to walk in the Spirit and to not react carnally, that is a work in itself. You're choosing to stay, you're choosing to contain the Spirit and not lose it, not throw it out the window when you get tried, right? When you go through affliction, or if someone actually tries you, you decide to, keep that, as well as, like, whatever comes to your heart of a good work to do as a woman. Women have many works in the bounds of motherhood, sisterhood, motherhood, wifery, right? So yeah, works is very important to prove our faith. So as we read that particular section in context, it's very important to also provide people with what they actually need, though. We need to be wise in what we're offering them, especially in physical alms, right? This is Matthew chapter 25, 34 through 46. For I was an hungered, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee an hungered, and fed thee, or thirsty, and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger, and took thee in, or naked, and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick, or in prison, and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was an hungered, and ye gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me not in. Naked, and ye clothed me not. Sick, and in prison, and ye visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we then a hunger, or a thirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto thee? And he said unto them, saying, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have not done it to one of the least of these, ye did it not to me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal. I have the Google definition of selfless. It means concerned more with the needs and wishes of others than the ones of your own. Unselfish. Selfless. I have the definition of generous from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Liberal in giving, open-handed. So, as much as we do profess this faith and whatnot, as much as we keep the commandments ourselves, like, we still want to, make sure that we're actually helping others, not only just spiritually, but sometimes, like, a lot of times that will be physically, like, it will be, through monetary means, it will be through providing certain things, doing favors, but of course with the spiritual works as well, which is, maybe you can ask them to study with you, study some scriptures that are in the bounds of a woman. You can pray for them. Those are alms as well, but the physical works are definitely needed. Like, as it said, like, they ain't got no clothes, they ain't got no food, they hungry, they dirty, they cold, like, you just gonna tell them, hey, go be filled with the spirit of the Most High, and, you'll be all right. But you can very much give them those things, I'm also gonna go into, like, how important it is also to be just be wise with what you do give, like when it comes to alms, right? You don't want to boast your alms. I should have referenced that scripture, but you don't want to do your alms in the sight of men, because that'll be your reward, and it won't be a reward in the Most High's eyes, because you did it in the sight of men and you wanted glory. So that's your glory, but he's not going to give you props for that. That's what the scripture said. I should have got it. But you also want to be wise, like, with certain people, it might not be the best to give them money, because they could go and use those things for certain, for other things. Like, I will say, like, if it comes down to it, you could give money, and you've thought and you've tried the best that you could do, even if you still have to send that. Also, you wanna now, the word also says, give not unto the wicked. So I'm gonna also say, like, you don't want to be a fool, but when it comes to, brothers and sisters in this faith, that especially the ones that you have proven to be cool, you know them and whatnot, the ones that you don't know, steal them. And then, people in the world, like, you just want to be real cautious with that. But, still, helping people, it doesn't always have to be through money. Sometimes you could, give them stuff indirectly, like you can send groceries unto them in their location. You can send whatever they need to them, or, it's just certain things like that. Now, scriptures also reference, like, you want to give if you have the ability to give. Like, if it's taken away from you, your own house and y'all's well-being, like, you're giving, but, y'all don't have enough money for X, Y, and Z, you just want to be wise with that. Give according to the little that you have, don't be scared, but also, like, just be wise, right? This is Revelation 22:12-14. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with thee, to give every man according as his work shall be. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. 14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, and that they may have right to the true of life, and may enter through the gates into the city. Ooh, that old English be getting me in that small text. But all praise to the Most High. Hamashiach said he's coming back to reward every man according to his works. So we definitely want to lay up those heavenly treasures more than we laying up anything else on earth. That's by keeping his commandments, and that's by, like, adding to the ministry, helping spread this truth. You can share truth. You can put it everywhere. If you on social media, this is the only reason I feel like why I still am on social media, is to like spread the truth, basically. It shouldn't just be all about you. It should be very evident if someone goes on your social, right, that you're sharing the word of the Most High. It's very important. I wanted to reference Sirach 6, 7 through 17, just referring back to how you want to just be watchful of who you are, having dealings with and whatnot. The scriptures give wisdom from all sides, right? It's not gonna tell you, it's gonna give you insight from all sides of what you need to be cautious of, even as a giver, even as you're helping, right? I'm gonna reference Sirach 4 and 22 in relation to that as well, but I'm gonna read verse 23. Sirach 4 and 23, and refrain not to speak when there is occasion to do good, and hide not thy wisdom in her beauty. So all praise to the Most High. I did want to run through like different ways where you can be giving alms in your community, in your immediate community. The people around you. Start within your family, and if not in your family, like go to the closest people that you know. How can you help? You can help in all different ways. People got children and houses to take care of, and women get pregnant during pregnancy, postpartum, etc. Also in the community, you've got I'm gonna just go down the list. Like at hospitals, you can go and volunteer. You can volunteer at your state supported living center. You can get involved with orphans and foster homes and foster placements, like just foster children, right? You can support foster homes as well by donating to them. You can volunteer to do all these good things because, other people need you. Like it says in, folks in prison, don't forsake them, really try to get their information and, just talk life into them, and, also, maybe put money on their books. It's just, whatever it does, come to your spirit, because that's in there as well. So it's just different ways that you can help. I know someone with kids that could definitely need help with, I don't know, just scheduling, like just running their house, or maybe you can pay an expense for them. Like I said, if you don't have anyone close and near, you can go to the state supported living center, where there are individuals, grown adult individuals there with mental disabilities and whatnot, and you can go volunteer and whatnot. Now just know, if you get involved with the state, they will want background checks, fingerprints, and everything else, all your paperwork. But it is, it's worth it. You can go to the hospital. I don't know if I mentioned this, but you can go to the hospital and you can volunteer to hold infants that just need to be held, like they've been taken away or whatever. Like you can just go and help assist them. Your local schools, your local daycares, just certain things of that nature. Going to drives and, picking supplies up for people and taking it to them, like, all these resources. Just see what's in your state, really. And that's a very good deed to do. Alms deeds and charity is very, very important along with our works. So I pray that y'all enjoyed this video, and I pray that it reached someone's heart, not only to give in charity, but to be a light to the world. So all praise to the Most High. Shalom.